Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and once again I'm coming to you with the Texas Gun Vault Poll Question of the Week, a weekly vlog that I put out where I ask you as my viewers and subscribers about something that deals with guns, gun culture, politics, current events, the news, or something fun like EDC that I want to get your thoughts and opinions on. And this week's question is on one of those current event topics, because these things come and go, and right now in the gun world it really seems like we just go from one big event to the next where everyone's all fired up. And this week it was all about Liberty safes. Now I know when I first got into guns I wanted a nice safe, and I couldn't afford a high-end safe, but I always wanted a Liberty. They always seemed to be the top quality, and they had all the options, and they looked very, very nice. Well, eventually, I was able to afford one, and I own one now. It's the Fat Boy Junior Extreme. It's a great safe. I like all of the options, and it was locally available, and they were able to come install it in my safe room. Now, there was one issue when I bought it that I didn't like, and I was thinking about this a couple of years ago. Of course, they wanted to sell it to me with an electronic lock, and I personally have never liked the concept of electronic locks. I've always wondered if they're susceptible to hacking. Of course, you got that battery. What if it gets damaged? I've always preferred mechanical locks. It just always seemed a little bit more safe and reliable to me, but maybe I'm just a little bit old school. When I bought my Liberty safe, one of the things that they touted was a feature that I didn't like. They said, listen, if you ever lose or forget the combination to this safe, you can call up Liberty and you give them some information and they can give you a code to unlock it. And I was thinking to myself, whoa, hold on a second. You mean somebody else that I don't know has access to my safe? They know my combination. And they're like, okay, you only have to give them the information. But I'm thinking to myself, what if somebody hacks that information and sells all this information on the dark web to other people? What's going to go on there? Anyway, I didn't like that, and I wanted a mechanical lock anyway. So I went ahead and had them change it out to a mechanical lock, and they let me create my own combination. So Liberty never had it. I feel a lot better about that because only I have that combination, and I saw them install the tumbler. So I felt pretty secure. Now fast forward to years later, and today, and in fact a couple months ago, the DOJ and the Department of Justice with the FBI raided someone's house. They had a warrant to raid this house and to look for information regarding somebody that was involved in January 6th. And part of that warrant said they could search the entire premise. Well, they came across a Liberty safe. And the story that I heard is they asked the person, well, can you give us the combination? And he said, no. Well, the FBI contacted Liberty Safe, showed them the warrant, which from my understanding and all the stories I've heard, the warrant was just for the location and not the safe specifically. But once they made sure it was a valid warrant, Liberty Safe turned over the information and allowed the FBI to gain access. So this was a big problem on many fronts. Number one, it looked like Liberty Safe was willing to work with the feds just to give out people's combinations and safe information, which of course the whole purpose of buying a safe is to keep what you put in that safe, which by the way, it doesn't have to be guns. It could be gold, coins, money, whatever. It's supposed to be safe and no one else has access to it except you. And of course that showed a huge security breach in many people's minds, like, oh my gosh, what if the government goes rogue and starts issuing all these warrants for all these different people, and Liberty Safe, just wanting to go along to get along, just gives everybody the master code to everyone's safe? Well, that's a problem. Then a lot of people realize, well, what if a hacker gained access to that information? Well, that's also a problem. A lot of people kind of felt violated, which is, as I said, was something that I took note of when I bought the safe and was looking at all of the features. I already was aware, hey, Liberty Safe would have my combination. I'm not a big fan of that. And of course, this caused a big brouhaha. Then information came out that the owners of Liberty Safe donate to anti-gun politicians. And so they just dug the hole deeper and deeper and deeper. And then, like Bud Light and Anheuser-Busch and AB InBev, there was a bunch of people that said, it's time to boycott. I will never forgive them. Get rid of your Liberty Safes. They're traitors. And in that moment, it definitely definitely look like that was the case. But since this story broke, they've tried to make amends, and I want to talk about that. But before I do, I wanted to ask you guys, will you ever forgive Liberty Safe? Will you ever buy a Liberty Safe again? Or are they on your permanent no-buy list and you will never forgive them? But let's find out what you guys had to say with this week's poll question. But let's read that poll first, and then we'll get your results. This past week, it came to light that the Liberty Safe Company aided the FBI in an investigation by providing the combination to a person's safe that was served with a warrant. This incident made people aware that Liberty Safe has knowledge of your personal combination, and this information could be used against you. Liberty Safe has tried to change their policies, but it may be too little too late, as calls for a boycott has already gained momentum in the gun community. Due to their actions, policies, and knowledge of how their company operates, will you personally boycott Liberty Safe? Now, I personally think this story is a little bit more nuanced than, let's say, the AB InBev story with Bud Light, because these companies ostensibly do want to make money. That's their end goal. They have investors and, of course, the people that work for the company. They want to have a job and make money. So if Liberty Safe doesn't sell safes, they go out of business, and the investors that bought Liberty Safe, well, they lose their entire investment. So once this came out and came to light and people realized what's going on, there were calls for action to boycott. And what did Liberty Safe do? To their credit, they began to change their policies. Of course, they had a PR team come out and be like, whoa, 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 we only did this if there's a warrant, here's our policies, and so forth. But then they started to change their tune and said, okay, listen, if you want your information expunged from our system, here's how to do it. We will delete it, as it is your personal right. It is your property. Once that safe is bought by you and it's delivered to your house, it's no longer the property of Liberty Safe, and they shouldn't have the combination. Now, if you like the fact that maybe you'll forget that combination, they will hold on to that information for you and provide it at the right time. But you should have the right to have them expunge that information. And to their credit, they didn't double down like Bud Light did. When Bud Light had that big controversy where they sponsored Dylan Mulvaney, a trans right activist, completely ignoring who the main market is for Bud Light, what did they do when the calls for boycott came out? They doubled down. They said, we support everybody. We support this stuff. And people are like, okay, there you go. We're done. And they never walked it back. They never apologized. And they just kept going further down that hole. And now look at them. They're pretty much irrelevant. The brand is destroyed. But what did Liberty Safe do? Well, they're doing their best. They did apologize. And they said this was our policy up until this point. And they have changed their policy. Now the warrant would have to specifically say Liberty Safe must give them that combination. If it's just a warrant for that location, Liberty Safe, if they have it, says you need to have that warrant amended and have it specifically tailored to us. Otherwise, we can't give it to you. And that is their legal right. If the warrant doesn't say that, Liberty Safe has to give it to them. Well, they don't. Now, the other thing to think about, and I know people are upset, but if the FBI and the DOJ really wanted to get into your safe and they had access to the location where your safe is, they're going to get into that safe with brute force. Trust me, they can hire locksmiths. They can hire people that know how to cut those things open. They'll bring in people with the tools to do it. So at that point, when they're going to do it, well, maybe if you know there's nothing in there, well, giving them the combination might protect your property. If you got money in there, well, if they start going in there with tools and torches, well, you can have a lot of damage to your stuff, especially guns. You don't want that to happen, but that's all up to you and what you want to do and your knowledge of what's in that safe and whether or not you want to cooperate. But that's your right and your choice. Unless they have a warrant for opening that safe specifically, I don't know what Liberty really can do and what they can do. I don't know the intricacies of the law, but it's things to take into consideration. And as I said, they also changed their policy, allowing customers to have their information expunged from their system, to say, please delete this information. And they apologized. So what did they do that Bud Light did not? Well, as I said, they apologized. They altered their policies, and they made clear that you can get your information removed. Now, for some people, that initial incident is enough for them to permanently boycott them forever. But I want to ask you guys something. You guys most likely are like me and disagree with things like cancel culture. We find it silly that when one person, maybe in their past, did something bad and it comes to light 10 or 15 years later, that they get canceled. It's not right. It's not right to destroy somebody's livelihood and to take everything from them for maybe something that they posted online 20 years ago when they were a completely different person. Many of you hate cancel culture. But yet when it comes to companies like this that you feel slighted by, well, you're all about cancel culture. And I would completely agree if a company didn't do anything. But many of you, I know, are probably religious. I would say probably the predominant number of you are probably Christian if you are religious, and then maybe Jewish and Muslim and so forth. But one of the tenets of many religions around the world is redemption and forgiveness. Now, in order to be redeemed, you have to truly feel sorry and make amends for the things you have done in the past, and be repentant. And then through your actions show that you are truly sorry. But then on our side, we have to be forgiving. It doesn't mean that you forget, but you can forgive. If somebody is truly sorry for their actions and takes good measures and steps to correct the problem. And that's what I think Liberty Safe may have done in this situation. Now, it is your right to never forgive them for that one incident. And I support you 110%. After all, that is capitalism. That is your right, your opinions and your thoughts. But I also want to ask you, should we forgive? Should we feel that we need to let them be redeemed if they realize the error of their ways? Because after all, they still do make pretty darn nice safes. And for a long time, they have provided a quality product to the Second Amendment community. But that's what this is all about. So with all of that said, let's dive right into this week's results. With 186 votes this week, we have, yes, I will never buy a safe from them and they lost my trust, 71%. Yes, but if they change their policies, I would forgive them, 4%. Neutral, depending on how they handle things in the future, 16%. No, I do not care about the politics or policies of a company, 4%. And something else, explain in the comments, 5%. And I can't say that I am surprised by this week's results. The one thing I have discovered in the gun community and being a content creator and interacting with so many people like you is that the gun community is full of very passionate but also very emotional people. One of the advantages I've always thought about my personality type, and by the way, I'm an INTJ on the Myers-Briggs personality type indicator, is that I always take a step back. Sometimes people think I have no emotions because I look at everything through an analytical perspective. I rarely go to my heart. I might get upset in the moment, but then I stop and go, okay, shut those emotions off, because often the truth and the facts and the best path forward is going to come from your brain and not your heart. And the emotions in the gun community always get really elevated. I can tell you, I am on the receiving end of so much hate on so many videos, especially on my commentary videos on my main channel, where I might be talking about something like Matt Hoover or the ATF pistol brace amnesty stuff. And I have a little bit different perspective than most. And man, does the anger and the vitriol come out. But I understand those people and why they're so passionate and why they feel the way that they do. And in the moment, people felt betrayed. So I understand why the first option got the most votes. But let's go through each one of these and I'll tell you guys my personal thoughts and opinions. First, we have, yes, I will never buy a safe from them and they lost my trust. And I've already told you, I understand how picky people can be in the gun community, that once you tick them off one time, they will never forgive. And you know what? I will fully admit my own faults. I am not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. And I will fully admit that there are a couple of companies that I still have a very difficult time forgiving. One of them is Ruger. And every time I review a Ruger gun, I always talk about how I'm biased against them, because Bill Ruger, the name that is on that gun, pushed for the assault weapons ban. He said that some of the items and accessories he designed for his guns were never intended for civilians, like folding stocks. He also pushed for a 10-round magazine capacity limit. And many people have told me that he only did that because he thought the bill that would come out if he didn't compromise would be worse. And that's fair enough. The company is no longer run by him, and he has passed away. And the company since has been a very strong supporter of Second Amendment rights. And maybe unfairly, I'm biased against them because of that. And maybe I do need to find it in my heart to forgive them, because they have made amends. They donate a lot of money to pro-gun groups that fight for our rights. So I am not perfect in this by any stretch of the imagination, and I'm willing to admit that. So I'm going to ask you guys, maybe, and just think about it, I'm not asking you to change your mind, but at least be open to the possibility that if Liberty Safe really takes the steps to rectify the situation, they come out and apologize to their customers. They change their policies on what information they will give based on what type of warrant they have, and giving you the option to get rid of your information in their system, I think goes a long way. They're correcting their mistakes, and they're coming to you and saying, we are sorry. We understand if you will never trust us again, but we are going to make things right. And will you, if you feel like they are sincere, forgive them? I know a lot of you guys won't, and that's just the way the gun community is, and that's also the way capitalism is. I can feel one way about this, you can feel a different way, but maybe in the end, this is going to make safe companies better. They're going to see what happened to Liberty Safe and avoid that. Then we have, yes, but if they change their policies, I would forgive them. Only 4%. That's kind of surprising, but this is actually the one that I would have voted for, because as I'm getting older, yes, I am still very passionate, but I like to think that I've become a little bit wiser in my older years. I know I'm only middle-aged, and there's some people watching this video, they're going to say, I'm way older than you. Yes, 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 but I feel like I'm getting older all the time. I really feel like maybe I'm 60 years old. I've always been an older person trapped in a younger person's body. That's what everyone has always said. But as I've gotten older and gotten wiser, I do believe it is time for us to forgive if people are sincere. And I really feel like Liberty, based off of their statements and what they've come out with and how quick they came out with it, they really are trying to make amends. So I'm kind of sad that only 4% would forgive. Then we have neutral, depends on how they handle things in the future, 16%. And I know this one is going to require some time. The people that probably voted for this are going to be like, listen, they got to prove to me. I honestly think they're probably going to have to rebrand their safes. They're going to have to come out with a big PR campaign. You're probably going to see that. And hopefully, in a year or two, people will have completely forgot. I've honestly already started to notice this in the gun community, because that first week it happened, man, everybody was talking about it. And now it's been about 2 or 3 weeks since this story came out, and no one's talking about it. I always say how the gun community has a memory of a goldfish. You know, everyone's all passionate about the ATF pistol brace stuff. It's the end of the world, and here we are months and months after it, and everything is just going along just fine. Same thing with Matt Hoover. Oh my gosh, they're gonna come and arrest everybody, blah, blah, blah. And nothing has actually happened, and no one really talks about it anymore. And now, even just 2 or 3 weeks later, no one's talking about Liberty Safe, because we have the memory of a goldfish, because we've moved on to the next thing that everyone needs to be all upset and they're all passionate about. So I really think Liberty is going to survive this. I really think in a year most people aren't going to care. But I also know many of the people that probably work for Liberty Safe are good people and had no idea this was their policy. They just built the safes, they marketed the safes, they packaged the safes. That's all they did. And I want to make sure that they still have a job in the future. And I hope that they do, and I hope the policies of this company change. But they're going to need to work hard to regain many people's trust. Then we have, no, I do not care about the politics or policies of a company. Once again, 4%, a very small minority. I think it is responsible of people on our side to start caring about the politics and the policies of companies. After all, the left, the people that are anti-gun, they definitely care. It's one way that we can put pressure on companies to be more open to the Second Amendment. Even things down to like your local restaurants, because there are a couple around here that in the state of Texas, they can put up signs to ban concealed and open carry. And they put up those signs and they are legal. And I will never, ever go there because they have those signs, because they don't respect my Second Amendment rights. And I make sure that they know that. I've actually emailed their corporate office and say, as long as you guys got that sign, I will never go there. I will never bring my family there. I will never go there with my friends, and you have lost my business. And that is it. And that's how I think we can exert pressure, because I think for the most part, companies should not be in the business of politics. They should be in the business of making money for their investors. And then finally, we have something else explained in the comments, 5%. And I think most people about this were kind of walking the line saying, okay, maybe they need to be rebranded, maybe they need to have a good PR campaign, or I'm just going to wait it out and see what happens. So those were your results, and those were my thoughts on those results. But now let's go through the top-rated comments of the week and see what you guys had to say. And with our top-rated comment of the week, we have Stevo5459, who says, after seeing your video of how you had to spend a whole lot extra on essentially making your Liberty safe secure, and knowing that Liberty even had these backdoor codes, that's gonna be a no for me, dog. And yeah, I understand why people are going to feel that way. I know people always want to go for the convenience. I have some friends that have all these smart houses and smart devices, and I have a few. I can open my garage door and my gate to my alley with my phone. But I know people that can unlock their doors, adjust their showers, turn them on before they even get home, turn on all the lights, see all the cameras. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, an expert hacker or somebody that really wants to get and mess with your life, they can. I don't know if I want everything wired like that. If you have an Alexa or some type of device that listens to you to get information, well, they're listening to you all the time, even when you're doing very intimate things. And they're recording it, and they're taking note of it. And do you really want that? A lot of times people think, no one really cares, no one's really listening. But they are. There's so much data out there on you, it's crazy. And as I said, when I bought my Liberty safe, I noticed this as a feature, and I didn't think it was a feature. But you know how much it cost me to have that lock changed when I bought the Liberty safe? $0. Most locksmiths, when you buy it from them, if you ask them to change it, they're going to include that for free, because not everybody wants an electronic safe. I know it's quicker and easier, but I always wanted the mechanical ones. And for me, it was free. Then we have Super FC Smith, who says, if this makes them lower the cost of their safe substantially, then I might consider getting one. And you know, that's one of the reasons I always wanted a Liberty safe. I was like, these things are expensive. They must be really nice. And to their credit, many times the interiors, the options, and the ability to put electrical cords through the back so you can put on those dehumidifiers, install lights. I've always liked that. All the accessories that they sell are all compatible. They're really nice safes, but they're pricey. But you do get what you pay for. And who knows, maybe if they don't sell as many safes, they are going to have to start running some deals to make sure that they're moving those safes. I heard they only sell about 500 safes a month, which really, I guess, in the scheme of everything is actually a lot. But imagine if that went down to 200 safes a month. Well, they're going to have to start moving some inventory, and they might lower those prices. And if they do, that might be a time to pick up one of these. Then we have Mr. King Arthur HK, who said, they just became Target selling Bud Light. And yeah, according to these results, many people think that is definitely the case. Then we have Sal.357, who said, just bought me a custom-made Fort Knox. I wanted the presidential from Liberty, but after what they did, I went with Fort Knox instead. Well, the Fort Knox safes are really nice as well. But one thing I would recommend to anybody when it comes to buying any product, including guns and including safes, is really look at who owns that company. Now, I don't know anything about Fort Knox, but I think you might be surprised who owns them. They might even be owned by Liberty for all you know, because a lot of times it comes out that like one company that you think is competing with another company is actually owned by the other company. It's like Cabela's and Bass Pro. You think they're competing with each other, but they're actually the same company. And that goes for many other things. I heard that many mattresses are made by the same company, but sold under different brands. So when you go to one mattress store versus another, you're actually getting the same mattress, but labeled differently. And they just kind of fool you to think that, yeah, there's competition going on when there's really not competition going on. And then finally, we have the Colt AR-15 resource, who said, I bought a Liberty safe years ago and it is mounted in my home, so I'm stuck with it. But when I shop for my next safe, it will not be a Liberty safe. And who knows, by the time I need to buy another safe, I might go a different direction too. And this might make the other safes want to up their game because they're going to see Liberty lose a huge market share. And if these safe companies are owned by different companies, this is going to be the time for them to pounce and to sell their product, to up their game, as I said. And I sure hope that they do. So that is the Texas Gun Vault poll question of the week, asking you guys about Liberty safes, and will you ever find it in your heart to forgive them? Is there something to redemption? I don't know. Redemption requires people to change their ways, but also requires you to forgive. And I understand why so many of you feel betrayed. I know I did in the beginning, but after thinking about it, I think if they do the right things and make amends in enough time, we should forgive them. I think it's just the right thing to do. But they have to prove it. So that's all I have to say on this topic for this week, and I was really surprised by your perspective as well, and I really enjoy having these conversations with you. So if you want to participate in next week's poll, please go to the community tab of my YouTube channel. I will post a link in the comments section and in the description. Please go over there, see what the next poll is about, comment, like, and vote, so we can get the top-rated comments of the week. So let me know in the comment section of this video if you'll ever forgive Liberty Safe. So, as always, thanks for watching.